Hey everyone, it is Kat
And Amber.
and we are Wandering Soup here in Merida, Mexico. And as always, we come to you with the latest and greatest of tips and tricks and all that stuff.
Yeah, for wherever we are. And right now it is Merida.
For right now and for a mighty go long time. For right now, for sure. Anyway, we've seen a lot of people talk about cost of living in Merida, what should they expect, and things of that nature. And, everybody wants to know.
Right. How much is it? How much it
Right.
gonna cost?
For me to move. And we can only talk about it from a family perspective. So we're going to throw our opinion on the cost of living for a family in Mexico. Now, mind you, we are only three, but still, add, multiply, subtract, whatever you got to do to get to your numbers.
Right.
Hopefully our numbers will help you. Right?
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah. We're going to start with something. We ready, y'all. We ready. Let's first start off with the elephant in the room. Mexico is cheap. Right. Everybody always says that because, propaganda, news report, footage, films that we've seen on Mexico, you only see the deserted towns, everybody looks poor and all this stuff.
So people talk about, how many beers they could drink for, $2. Right.
Dollar tacos, quarter tacos, whatever. That's cool. That's great. That is not reality though. Mexico is not cheap. It is cheaper or cheap-ish depending on how you live and where you live. Now let's be honest. I'm not saying that Mexico is uber expensive everywhere. It's not. I'm not saying that there are not pockets that are really, really inexpensive. There are. It's probably not where you're gonna go. It's not where you're gonna land. So it's not gonna you're probably not gonna find that cheap thing that you keep hearing and seeing out there in Mexico land. It's just not.
Right. I mean, you just can't go into it with a stereotype and expect, this isn't, cheap. So there's something that's not right. I mean, it's just not always cheap.
Right.
That's just all there is to it.
Now, and let's preface this by saying it depends on where you come from in the U.S.
Yeah.
Now, if you come from, say, one of the coasts, east or west, which are notoriously expensive in the U.S., this will be cheaper.
Right.
If you come from the Midwest in the U.S., this is not going to be cheap based off of your standards. And that's the kicker.
Yeah.
Your standards are going to determine your cost of living here in Merida just as they would in the U.S. But people, like I said, we want you to let go, though, of that stereotype before you move here so that you will be more accepting of what you receive. And there's a lot to receive here.
That's right.
Right. So let's get into the elephants in the room. Rent. Everybody want to know, how much is rent going to be?
That's what I care about.
Right. I mean, that's your biggest budget expense. It's going to be rent.
Mm-hmm.
And honestly, it's going to be up to you. And I hate to say it like that, but that's really the truth of it all. You can go as cheap as you want to. You can go as expensive as you want to.
Right.
Merida is a city of over 1 million people. Of that 1 million people, maybe 20,000 are expats. And so what that means is we don't determine the rental market as much as everybody wants to assume that we do. We do not. Can you find a home here for $200 a month? Yes, you certainly can. Can you find a home here for $5,000 a month? Yes, you certainly can. It's going to be up to you which one you want to go with. And it's going to be your standards.
Right. And even your standards, though, are going to have to shift a bit.
Right.
You're in a whole different country.
Mm-hmm.
What you expect to be, or you should be getting for your money, may not always be what is in a different country. That's just facts. So you are going to experience a shift, and that's okay. There's nothing wrong with that. Looking at things differently. When you go out to look at apartments, you're going to have in your head, oh, this is what I should be able to get for $500 or for $1,000. But you are going to have to, adjust it. So that's all. You just have to go into it with that reality.
Right.
Check.
Right. You can't, like I said, the homes are here in every range that you can imagine. The amenities in the home are going to vary depending on how much you want to spend. If you want to pay $200, you're going to have a $200 home or apartment. It's going to be $200. It's going to be wherever that $200 home is going to be. and you're gonna have to accept whatever that is. If that's your budget max, and whatever you may not have running water. I don't know. You may not have electricity. I don't know. You may not be able to get internet in there. I don't know. Those are the things you got to think about when you think about your budget, right? So those are those things. And like I said, it varies. It goes all over the place. I am not going to give you a firm figure because I don't know what you want. But I will say this: if you're coming from one of the coasts, you're coming from really nice middle class living in America, 3-bedroom home, 2 bath, and you want to move to Merida unfurnished, you're probably looking at $500 to $1,000. Keep that in mind. Mm-hmm. You want something furnished, you're going to bump that up. Just that simple. Yeah. But the furniture ain't gonna be nothing you want.
That's a good range.
Yeah, I think that's a good range. Based off American standards.
Mm-hmm.
If you don't have those standards, you ain't got nothing to worry about. You can find you something, honey. Don't worry about it. You gonna find you something no matter what.
Right, you can always find something.
But don't come in here unrealistic.
Mm-hmm.
You're gonna hurt your feelings. Your feelings gonna be really hurt.
Right. Just look in all the places, even before you get here. Just look, and then you have a real idea of what you can get for what you want to spend.
Right. Be firm in what you want to spend, or be flexible. It's up to you. All right. Next up is the other big one in the room. It's utilities.
Yes.
And the reason why utilities are such a big deal here is only really because of electricity. Yeah, gas and water are pretty easy, and internet is pretty cheap, and cable's pretty cheap if you want cable. But that electricity, baby, woo.
Well, even that can be cheap, but what you're looking at is usage. So, especially something like your AC unit.
Right.
If you have AC units in every room and you tend to use them
in every room
when it's hot, then yes, you're going to definitely be paying for that. That's not going to be your cheap bill.
No.
Your water bill is going to be cheap, gas going to be cheap in it, but that electricity though. But you know, everybody's different. Like some people really don't need a lot of AC and throw a fan up and they're good. So that's gonna vary obviously.
Right. So we got some numbers for you when it comes to the utilities, because again, electricity is going to vary. It's going to be up to you and your usage. We recommend that you start regulating when you do get here, though, because you really truly don't want to run an AC unit in every room in your home. And yeah, you just don't. It's not helpful for you. It's not helpful for your pockets. And you know, it is what it is, though. And that's what you choose to do, and you budget it, you should be fine. Generally, in the home that we were in before, we looked at the electricity bill, and it was a 4-bedroom home, 3.5 baths, and they bill in 2-month cycles here. So you won't get a bill every month; you'll get it every 2 months. So again, that's a little bit. You got a budget for that. It was under $100.
Yeah.
But mind you, we were in a pandemic, and the home could have went either way. Could have had a lot of renters in there, and they were using electricity a lot, or it could have had nobody in there, and that's just the cost of keeping the home functioning.
Right, because this was the cost for before we moved in. Right. Obviously, we didn't see the bill for our usage.
Right, because it was all inclusive, but that was the bill because it was just in the drawer. We were looking through some stuff, looking for something else, and there was a bill. It was actually great. It was informative. It was under $100, and we were like, oh, that ain't bad for 2 months of electricity usage. Again, that's cheaper than the U.S. in a lot of places. Yeah. But again, this is a pandemic, so we don't know what the average could be. It could be high, it could be low. It's going to depend on you. For gas, though, we did ask around about that because we've been in inclusive places so far, so everything's been inclusive. But you can always ask. The bills are there. They generally come to the home as well. The water bill for the home that we're in currently for 2 months was actually like 109 pesos, which is like $5. Yeah. 555, 565, like that. 2 months of water usage. That's not your drinking water, though. Your drinking water, you're gonna have that. You purchase it. There's water trucks that come through the neighborhood, or you go to the store and get it delivered. However you want to do it. But we're paying what around?
It's usually 33 pesos for the big
5-gallon.
Yeah.
Right, and we go through 3 of those a week, maybe 4. Right, and they knock on the door and bring them to the house. So we're actually doing pretty good with that. So that's part of your water budget. And water, again, that's cheap. I ain't gonna lie, that's cheap. That was a cheap one, I'll give you that one.
I mean, it's a bill because you have to
Have
buy water. There's no way you're not gonna buy water. You can't drink the water at the tap. But so you have to figure it in. But it's easy.
Right. So going back to the gas, most of the homes in Merida are run through gas. And by gas, we mean your hot water heater, your stove top, your oven if you have one, your washing machine, your dryer. All that stuff is going to be gas operated. So your gas is going to be one of your main bills. We asked about the home that we're actually moving to. And they said it's a 180 liter tank, which is about 47 gallons. And it runs around 1,500 pesos or so to fill it up, and that's about $75. And that usage will vary depending on how much you cook, how many showers you take a day, how many people are in your home, but that can average 3 to 4 months, maybe even more. Again, depending on your usage. But that's actually not bad.
That's really cheap.
Yeah, $75, 3 to 4 months.
Yeah.
I was paying, I ain't gonna lie and say that that's super cheap. I did have gas in the home in Georgia, and it was around $20 a month.
Okay.
So maybe even less than that sometimes. Yeah, so about the same.
Gas is just not very expensive.
Maybe in other countries, but here and in my home there, if I'm remembering correctly, it wasn't one of the bills that I was concerned about.
Right.
It was included in something else too, but it was relatively inexpensive. I think the max was 20, but I'm generally probably 15 because I did have a water heater, and I had a much bigger water heater than the ones that you typically will find here. But it is what it is.
Well, that's good to know.
So those are the main utilities. Internet's going to depend on you, how much you want or how fast you want your speed. Generally, you're looking at $30 to $50.
But you may need some other things,
Right.
some other tools. If you primarily work from home and you depend on stable Wi-Fi, then you are going to have to think about buying some extras potentially,
Or
like
two.
an extra, right? Like
Or two routers.
two routers,
One for
or
upstairs, one for downstairs.
yeah, or an extender, or just whatever. Just that's something that you may very well need if you depend on that for your livelihood.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah. We actually have the one router here and the extender in the boys' room, so that because the internet doesn't travel as fast.
Right.
Yeah. But it's okay right now. I'm
Right
not gonna say
now.
it's great. In the new home, we're probably gonna end up with 2 routers.
Absolutely.
Yeah, and probably an extender or two too, just to make sure and if you're on like a lot of Zoom calls or training classes and things like that, you definitely need to invest in other things.
Yep.
The internet here is good depending on what neighborhood you're in. It could be even better because some of them do offer fiber optics, not all. So if that's a thing for you, you might want to look into making sure that you're in the neighborhood and your home is on a fiber optic network.
Yep.
Right. And not all of them are in that neighborhood that does have fiber optic. I think sometimes there's like a lottery system. I read that somewhere where just because you're in that neighborhood, but they can only allow so many people or something like that.
Wow.
So somebody has to move out and you get in on it. Them be the breaks. All right, next up is food.
Woohoo!
Very important.
My favorites. My
Very
absolute
important.
favorite.
Very, very important. So, with all that being said, how do I say this? How do I say this?
You're not gonna put us out there, are you, in the process?
I am. So, food can get very one note here. And I say that because we're from the U.S., where there's international cuisine on every corner. You can find everything is represented, right? And so if you want Jamaican tonight, you want Chinese tomorrow night, you want Italian, Indian, Ethiopian, Mexican, American, Southern, all that other stuff. You know what I'm saying? You can find it. You're not going to find it here. And if you do find it, it's going to be interesting. So, you're probably going to cook more. And if you're going to cook more, it's not that cheap. It's about the same prices as the U.S. I don't really find that grocery shopping here is any cheaper than being in the U.S.
That's true when it comes to a lot of like add-ons and things. I mean, I think obviously you can get fruits and veggies, and even meat that's not expensive. You can go to the markets. You can get seafood even at the markets, and you can keep it really inexpensive. We don't tend to do that in general. We do make those trips sometimes, but that's not our weekly grocery. So, and then especially during a pandemic, I mean, we're just not out at the markets.
The local market.
Right, shopping, we're just not doing that either for that reason. So, but that would definitely be cheaper. But as far as grocery stores,
Right.
that's true.
It's not.
Yeah, it's not.
It's not that cheap. And you're going to find some of the pricings. They have Costco's and Sam's here, very similar to the U.S. There's membership fee, of course, but I think it's about the same price. I think it's like $25, right, or something like that.
Yeah, I think it was for the year.
Yeah, for the year.
Yeah.
And Costco prices are exactly the same. No difference inside on the items. So, but you can go get good meat there. So, bulk meat, but hey, it's there. So, you may eat out a lot more here too. You got your tacos. We know that. I've had them. I'm a little bit. Tacos are good, but I don't want them every day. And I found some great tacos, tortas, enchiladas, all that stuff is here, and it can be on either side, expensive or pricey, depends on what restaurant you go to. But if you go out to eat and you want something a little bit different,
Right.
not the typical standard fare here, not the Yucatan specials, it's going to cost. And the prices are going to look exactly like the cost in the U.S. I mean, no hesitation on that. You will spend the exact same amount of money. And possibly more, depending on where you go and how many people are in your party.
Right.
So don't come here thinking you're going to get you a $5 steak. Well, you can get you a $5. But I don't know.
Where?
I mean, you get it. Hey, that's on you and your septic system. But yeah, so think about those things.
Yeah, it's the going out to eat for me. Like that's where you can indulge in all different kinds of cuisines, but you're gonna pay for it. We've said this in other videos in Southeast Asia.
Right.
We're gonna pay for it. So
right. If you want something outside of the standard cuisine here, it's gonna cost you. And I'm not even gonna say it's gonna be all that great, because sometimes it's just not. You're gonna have a lot of hit and miss. So you find the ones that you like here, and in between that, go back to the standard. Your tacos, which are always going to be good, and things like that. So you should be okay, right?
Yeah, and I'm going to put out there, as we're talking about food, in that I am still exploring more of the actual vegan restaurants and the vegan delivery services. But what I've tried so far has been really, really good. It has been Mexican food. That's what I'm talking about right now, not other types of food necessarily, but they've been really, really good. So I'm going to do more of that, and then eventually we'll have a video of like all the different vegan spots and like giving you some pricing too.
Right.
But, yeah.
Right. And I'm there with her, y'all, just standing by. Right. So next up is transportation. We've seen a lot of people ask, should I bring a car to Mexico? Can I buy a car when I get here? How do I get around once we're here? And we're only going to really talk about Ubers. Ubers are relatively inexpensive, or taxis, either one of those. But it is going to add up, because first off, there's sort of restrictions. Typically, they don't allow any more than 3 to 4 people in the car, and they all have to fit in the back seat. No, the drivers here right now, due to the pandemic, are not allowing anyone in the front seat with them, understandably so. And your average ride is gonna be about anywhere from as little as 27 to around 45 or so, maybe 50, if you're staying in your general area.
Right. If you're going on a trip that's like gonna take you 30 minutes, then it's gonna be more like maybe 100 pesos.
Right.
But I haven't seen much more than that just for our general travel.
Right. And again, that cost is about 125 to 225 USD. And that's not bad, but that's one way, and you got to come back. If you go around the city a lot, those costs do add up. Mm-hmm. And again, if you are a bigger family, anything more than 3, realistically, you're going to need 2 Ubers or somebody staying home. And there's also right now restrictions on kids in certain stores, so your kids may not be able to go with you anyway, especially under, I think, age 12.
Yeah.
There's some restrictions. Like you can't go anywhere with them right now, except for maybe 2 or 3 stores. So think about that. Now, is that cheaper than owning a car here? Yeah. I'm gonna have to say it's definitely cheaper than owning a car here. A car with insurance, and especially if you have notes still attached to the car, because insurance here is pretty expensive. It's gonna be way more than that. We average about maybe 2 Uber rides a week. We go somewhere, if that. You know, depending on how we're feeling that week, if we're going out on the weekend or, you know, grabbing something,
That's true.
some brunch somewhere. We don't go out too much.
I mean, you can, well, and you can walk to a lot of places.
Right.
Honestly and truly, it is a very easy place to walk.
Depending on your neighborhood.
Yeah, that's true, depending on your neighborhood. But even in the last neighborhood we were in, which is totally different from Centro, we walked a lot. So just the things that were around us, we didn't have as many things around us, but we still walked a lot. So, but then again, it was possible to walk then. Obviously, when the heat ramps up, you're gonna use more Ubers when you do go out. So there's that.
Right, definitely. And summer's coming, y'all. Winter's slowly fading away, and summer's here. So again, it's cheaper to not have a car, but the convenience factor of owning a car is really, really nice.
Yeah.
We've rented a car twice since we've been here, and we've enjoyed it enough to the point where I think we're going to eventually get a car here, just because we just want to see more and have the flexibility that owning a car gives you.
Yeah.
And that's pretty much the only reason why.
Yeah.
Because it's not the expense.
Right, and to be able to get out of the city and go places because, yeah, just renting a car, right, and just renting a car, we realize just how much there is to go see, but you gotta, it's gonna take a minute to get there, and you don't necessarily want to have to pay an Uber driver for each of those trips and to wait for you, because you really have to have somebody wait. Like, you can't go out there and then just hang out and try to figure out a ride back. Like,
To certain places,
yeah.
right. Especially like this notes and stuff like that.
Yep.
I don't think we even had internet access out there.
It definitely was down in spots. So
Right. So those are the major things. Last, we're going to get into extras. And extras cover a lot of things, but I'm going to talk about electronics. Electronics are pricey here. Super pricey. I mean, and the selection is not that big. And we found that exact same thing, though, in Southeast Asia. So that wasn't a huge surprise. If you're used to being in the U.S. and going to, you know, all the big box stores have, you know, dozens of laptops. You can order on Amazon. There's mom and pops with electronics. There's so many places that have electronics that when you come here, and it's just not like that. You go to Walmart, there are no laptops on sale there. You can even go, I think Costco had a few, like 2 or 3.
Yeah.
And that's about it. I mean, which is, you know, interesting. So
yeah. A few of the stores have some, but there's just such a small selection. I think they want you to order online, but even online it's not, you know, the prices are not what you want.
Basic laptops are going to start out, I mean, like really basic, almost Chromebooks are going to start out a few $100 here.
Right.
So think about that. If you're coming over and your laptop's old, you might want to get a new one before you get here. Now, if you plan on going back to the States every 3 to 4 months, every 6 months to re-up, then you should be fine. You'll be able to get you something when you go back over there. But just in case you do need something while you're here, and the stores around you are not offering the options that you need when it comes to electronics, sometimes they want, you can order through Amazon.com or Amazon.mx. My suggestion to you is to compare on both sites. Make sure you put in your your shipping address as you're looking to make sure that the items will actually come to you or that they are allowed to be sold. Now, including in that price is going to be taxes, all the fees for, you know, the item. And I've yet to experience Prime delivery, like 2 days or something like that, which I didn't expect to. So, but pricing so far to me has been better on Amazon.com shipping to Mexico than vice versa, than Amazon.mx.
Yeah, no, it's been easy. It's gonna be, you know, you're gonna pay for the shipping, but it's still worth it. And speaking of Amazon, and it makes me think of clothing, because we've certainly had to think about that since we've been here. That's not like the highest priority, but it's an extra.
Right.
And I find at this point, up until this point anyway, that you can find cheaper clothes here. It may not always be the style you want or anything like that, but there's definitely local markets with clothing, especially if you're for people who are smaller size, small-ish. So yeah. So as far as clothes are concerned, there's clothing stores everywhere, and the prices are actually really reasonable. So when it comes to that, I say look at the stores that are around you before you head to Amazon. Because if you look long enough, you'll probably find some things.
But like I said, electronics, re-up all your stuff, make sure you're good to go. That includes your cell phones, your laptops, all your little audio, visual stuff. All that stuff is going to be way more here. And it was the same in Southeast Asia, so we weren't really surprised. So we thought that being closer to America, we would get a price difference, but it's not. So cameras, camcorders, anything that you're bringing over. But be careful when you're coming over on a plane. You only allow like one laptop, I think, per person.
You're right.
After that, you got to pay some fees, some taxes, and things like that. So think about that. Yeah. Any other extras?
No comment.
So, let me add this little caveat. So the other day, my laptop died. My power cord, I have an Asus, died. Probably because of traveling, because we had just gotten it before we moved to Southeast Asia. But probably just going through the little adapters there, and then coming back here and plugging it in, it just died. Anyway, and this is American plugs here, so you don't have to worry about your plugs here. So we were looking for a cord. That was it, and it was a hard road to hoe. Surprisingly, I didn't expect that. I thought, well, they do sell laptops here. We should be able to get a cord. Once I figured out that was the issue, because I was going a whole different way with the battery, which is still an issue because I couldn't solve the problem easily. I talked to a few people, computer repair stores, and they were like, yeah, you had to order it. So everything would have to be ordered, the cord or the battery for the Asus, which is a standard laptop. There's nothing special about what I have. It's a VivoBook. And yeah, we even went to where you thought, Office Depot, no.
Right.
Walmart, no. We talked to so many people.
Yeah.
Radio Shack is here, no. They either don't have the battery, can't get it for you. You can order it, right. Maybe.
Yeah, they could have, a couple of places said you can order it and they ship it within like 5 to 7 days.
5 to 7 days,
okay.
Right.
But I think the thing is we just didn't know where to look, because like there is a store here that does like electronics like that, like they're the Best Buy of Merida, like that's what they do. So or at least accessories for electronics, not so much like laptops.
Right. I didn't see much in that store.
Right. But if we had thought about that or known that was the go-to store, and we could have just started there. But that's okay. That's where we ended up.
Right. But even saying that, and that store is Stearns.
Mm-hmm.
Even saying that, they don't have everything.
Right.
And they just had 2 or 3 universal adapters.
Right.
And that was it. So you're not going to find your particular power source for the Asus computer there. We found a universal adapter that doesn't really fit great, but it charges, and I'm going to take it.
Right.
When I get back to the States in a few months, I'll get another one that's really for my computer, so I don't have to worry about that. Mm-hmm. So you're going to find something that's going to get by, but you're not going to find everything you need. So if you have some high-end equipment, you might want to do some research before you land on where you can get this stuff repaired, replaced, or anything or attachments associated with it. You may not be able to get it here.
Yeah, because that stuff wasn't inexpensive either in that store.
No, nothing in there was real cheap. I got excited because they said the price, and I don't know, it was translation.
They thought, yeah, they were saying 1,000. They were saying 100, meaning 1,000, like
right.
Pesos. So it was total confusion.
I was happy. That girl said 107 pesos. I was like, oh, snap. A sister done got a deal.
Isn't that what she meant?
Honey, no, she meant 1,107. 1,107. I'm like, on the counter, like, hey, that's not what you said, though. Before I gave you my credit card to charge this. This is not what you said. So, anyway, life lesson learned. Right. Amber was just standing there looking like, huh?
Right.
And I hadn't looked up the price before we got there, but I knew it's a portable charger. I mean, a universal charger. I don't know.
Mm-hmm.
In the U.S., you can get one of those for $20, I think, right, or something like that. $20, $30.
Yeah.
That was $50.
She thought she was getting the sister hookup. That's what it was. She thought the girl was like, "Oh, you sister, you gonna give you the hookup? Okay."
I thought, hey, we
They
just
don't do
misread
that.
the site.
They don't do that here.
So anyway, all that to say, electronics, make sure you good to go before you get here.
Right.
I think that's my one good extra. You got any other extras?
I don't know. I think that's about it. We don't really buy a whole lot of things. At least we haven't. Stuff for our son, basketball, stuff at Walmart, stuff like that. But it's been the same price that we would have paid at the
In the
Walmart in the States. Yeah. So yeah.
Don't expect to come over here and get you some $5 stuff that was $25 in the States. It's gonna be $25 here. And if you keep that in mind, you'll be fine.
Right.
Yeah, I think that's really the eye opener for both of us here. We were used to Southeast Asia pricing for stuff, and we got here. We're like, oh, it's like being in Georgia again. And once you wrap your head around that,
wine because alcohol. Okay, so I'm just saying, you ain't coming to get no cheaper wine either. But that's a good thing because life's too short for cheap wine.
Now I'm gonna laugh at that. I don't drink often, like once a year, but yeah, Amber does find the wine, and it's ice cold, isn't it?
I don't even want to talk about it. I don't want to talk about it.
Yeah, they have some really nice restaurants here, though, y'all. Really fine dining. You're gonna pay, but the service is fantastic. Shout out to all the great places that we've been to so far. Oh, we've had some good food in that regard. We both are eaters, so we've been having a good time. But like I said, you can get one note if you try to stay on that dollar menu. You're gonna get one note. So move past those tacos and get you some good food here in Merida. And there are some great walking areas, good cafes. Once you get into the local areas, you can find cheaper stuff. I don't know about the quality, shopping wines and stuff like that, but come and see for yourself. Come with the right expectations. Be prepared to change your viewpoint on some things, and you will enjoy Merida as much as we have.
Absolutely.
Starting to warm up though. Woo! We gonna tell the summer gonna be hot, y'all. Cause it's hot. It's a little warm. It's a little warm. It's getting there. Alrighty, y'all. I am Kat.
And I'm Amber.
And we are Wondering Soup. We will see you on the next video, y'all. Please like, subscribe, share, follow. Do all those big things. Till next time. Peace and love, y'all.
Peace.